Hello and welcome to the Beyond 6 Seconds podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn Keel, and I'm really excited to have my guest here today, Rebekah Bastian. She is the CEO and co-founder of OwnTrail. Previously, Rebekah was the Vice President of Product and Vice President of Community and Culture at Zillow. She's also the author of the book Blaze Your Own Trail, a contributor to Forbes, and a frequent speaker on social impact, career navigation, and corporate diversity. Rebekah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so happy to have you here today. So, tell me a little bit about OwnTrail, like what it is and what was the inspiration for you to start it?
Yeah, so OwnTrail is a platform that's really kind of reimagining what mentorship means and how it plays out for women, with the goal of really reaching all women. We know that currently about 75% of women aren't giving or getting the mentorship that they want. And we believe that when they say they want to be giving or getting mentorship, it's really kind of shorthand for some problems that need solving. And those really kind of on one side of the equation lie around the fact that we need to see people who look like us in the places we aspire to. And we really want to understand the authentic journeys behind, how different people get to where they get, because we can really start to doubt ourselves and feel like we might be getting it wrong, or like we need to know where we're going without really understanding what those nonlinear journeys look like. On the flip side is also the fact that we want to be able to give back to those coming up behind us, but can't always say yes to every coffee chat. And it doesn't scale. The traditional one-on-one mentorship isn't scaling. And frankly, it's leaving women behind. And so the way we're solving that is by creating this platform in which women can share what we call micro acts of mentorship, which is, I know you've done this, which I was really excited to see, but it's being able to share the trail that you've blazed through life as a series of interconnected milestones. And when we combine all those different trails from all these different women with the different identities they hold and experiences they've had, it becomes this content-based network that can really provide the insight and inspiration and guidance that we believe women are looking for when they say they're looking for mentorship. So really being able to see all the different ways that someone might have navigated a situation I'm going through right now, or all the different journeys women might have taken to get to a point I aspire to, and using that to really fuel our journeys from inspiration into action.
Right. That's really interesting. Yeah, I have had a chance to check out the platform and even build my own trail. And it is very different than, say, looking at someone's resume or their LinkedIn profile, which tends to just be sort of the major milestones from a professional level. But the own trail is really holistic in that it incorporates a lot of, personal milestones, professional milestones, education, and really a whole host of other things. And it seems like that was very intentional in the way that you put that together. Is that something you found really helps women in networking and building those mentorships?
Well, it's really the fact that our personal and professional lives are so intertwined, so trying to separate them out, essentially kind of sells our experience short. It's not realistic, even though surprisingly most platforms and conversations do tend to think about them as separate things. So yeah, for us, integrating personal and professional was really important. And, like you said, it's easy to see these kind of picture perfect end results on different social media and see what the final accomplishment is. But in reality, the things that really make us who we are, that I think are really the most character building and the most, that gives us the most success in life, is the obstacles that we're able to navigate and what we make it through, and what those journeys really look like behind the final win. And so we're really trying to embrace that level of authenticity.
Yeah, that's really important. And, as you said, that's one of the things that motivated me to start this podcast, is to not always just present the kind of finished product, the highlights of everybody's career and personal lives, because it is just so much more complicated than that when we're trying to find success and build our careers and the rest of our lives. So that's really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So before you started OwnTrail, you had a multi-year career at Zillow. You had a variety of positions, and, I'm really curious to learn how the work that you did at Zillow kind of helped inspire and lead you to start OwnTrail after a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. So I was there for 15 years, and Most of that time was spent in product leadership. And then the last few years I spent leading community and culture. And so I would say that both my experience and my passion really lie at that intersection of product strategy. So, how you solve user needs and delight users through really meaningful products, and social impact and equitable systems. So really thinking about, how we can leverage products to solve social issues, to create more equity in the world, to really, essentially bring people together. And so that is definitely the foundation of what we're building OwnTrail with. The kind of the gateway experience for me was really writing this book that led to Owen Trail. And so that was something that I did on the side while I was at Zillow, not with the intention of leaving to start a company, but just because it seemed like it'd be fun to write a book. And so Blaze Your Own Trail is this interactive exploration of women's life paths with really, kind of similar goals. It's really trying to embrace the idea that there is no one right path, and create solidarity in the shared experiences that we have as women. And so it's this choose your own journey format, which means you, the reader, are the person going through the storyline. And at the end of each chapter, you make a decision, and that tells you what chapter to go to next. So essentially the whole table of contents is a big decision tree. There's all these different paths. There's 19 different endings. And it's really, it spans personal, professional life. And it's really trying to recognize that our decisions won't always, the outcomes won't always be predictable. Things won't always go as planned. We don't always know where we're headed, but, and we'll make it through tough things along the way, but we're strong enough to make it through, and we're going to be okay. And we're going to, find our happy ending through any of those. And so I wrote the book and had signed with a publisher, and at the point where I was waiting for it to come out is actually when I started building what I thought would be a book launch website, but it pretty quickly took on a life of its own and evolved into what Owen Trail is now.
Wow, that's really interesting. And, you mentioned starting as in product management at Zillow, and then, your career kind of moved towards like the culture related types of topics. We talked about diversity and just, engagement and, community. And at your last few years at Zillow, your career really evolved into that particular area. So was it kind of an interest that you developed while you were doing product management, or how did that kind of enter the picture with your career?
Yeah, I was vice president of product and had an incredible team with, some really amazing directors reporting to me, and found a little bit of bandwidth through that to start doing some more side projects. So I actually spent, probably a good 3 or 4 years doing side projects that were really around, how do we create social impact through our products? How do we get more diverse representation into our tech org? How do we really foster this culture that's been fantastic from the beginning, but, as we grow and scale as a company, how do we keep that alive and growing? And then it really was kind of a aha moment where I just realized one day, like literally one day, I had the epiphany that, whenever friends ask me about my, what's cool at work right now, I'm talking about all my side projects. Those are the things that I'm really most excited about. And so I, started having some conversations with leadership and pitching this idea of creating a team in this space that brings these different areas together. And I think because I had really proved myself in these areas through doing it on the side and seeing some really good results from it, and because we were in a place where we were really ready to grow and invest in this space more as a company, my timing was really good with it as well. And I was able to get the go-ahead to start this team. And I think the best thing I did was really hiring an incredible team of people that were experts from all different areas to run with this work, and it ended up being really, really amazing. I would still be there right now if it weren't for discovering this complete calling to be building Owen Trail, but it was a really cool experience working with that team.
Wow. And did your kind of interest in networking and mentoring tie directly into the culture work, or was it sort of a realization that you had after doing this work that, hey, mentoring and networking is a critical part of this, and that particularly women in general are sometimes at a disadvantage when it comes to that?
Well, I mean, since I've been in leadership and mentorship roles for, probably over a decade now, I've just had enough conversations to realize that there's some really common themes there. And it oftentimes is women who reach out to me to talk. And I think it is because it is important. And oftentimes when we're looking for mentorship or for guidance, to reach out to somebody whose identities we share. And I think that's a reason that I end up talking with a lot of women. But the common themes really are, talking with all these women who worry about their paths through life, who think they're supposed to know where they're going and how they're going to get there and hoping they get it right. And, also the fact that there's all these experiences we go through where we feel like we're the only ones going through them because they don't get talked about as much. Sometimes something that's more taboo in nature or people feel embarrassed about. And so we can feel like we're, feel really isolated in our experiences when in reality, they're shared amongst so many different women. And so both with, I wove a lot of data into the book, into Blaze Your Own Trail, and we're really trying to create, this platform that is powered by community, but really powered by data to really kind of create that sense of solidarity around what these shared experiences are and how all these different paths fit together.
Oh. So OwnTrail, is it currently in beta right now, or is it fully launched?
Yes, we launched our beta site in February. So it's fully available to everybody. It's owntrail.com, and anyone can go on there, and anyone who identifies as a woman can share the trail that she has blazed, and everyone can browse through those trails. Women can choose to use their real names or stay anonymous with a screen name, depending on kind of what their comfort level is with that. And we do still have the beta tag on it. We're actually in the last week of a crowdfunding campaign right now that is giving us the fuel to kind of do the last push of features to get us from beta into our full production release, which it's essentially a logo change, but it's also the mentality of like we're really, it's official. We are out there. This is the platform that we're going to be growing from here. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the show notes, I'll add a link to my own trail, and I can add one to yours if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Because I'd love to kind of give people the visual, and if I can figure out how to add a visual into this video, I'll put mine up there as well. So I want everyone to be able to see what this is. So it's called Own Trail because it's your own trail, and it literally looks like a visual trail of significant milestones that are personal and professional. And I'm fascinated when you kind of talk about the data behind it. So, we're putting in, personal and professional, like whatever you choose to share, obviously as much or as little as you want. And then if there are several different women doing that, it seems like there's a lot of potential to potentially match up people who have similar experiences and things like that. So is that part of the data engine that you're building behind it? And how will it match people up or connect those conversations?
Yeah, definitely. So it's very data driven, both on kind of the individual level and and in the aggregate. So on the individual level, like you were saying, the power is really in being able to say, these are the trails of women that are maybe similar to yours that you could identify with and find that solidarity and shared experience. And these are the trails of women who are, in places that you might aspire to, or, that could give you some wisdom of where you're going or how you might get there, and really having it be personalized and tailored to your own experiences and to your aspirations. And then in aggregate, as I was writing the book and weaving a lot of data into that, what I discovered was that there's some huge gaps out there in the data that we know about women's lives. There's a few annual reports that come out about like women in the workplace and stuff, but there's really big gaps, especially when you're trying to look at it intersectionally and understand what women experience based on the different identities that they hold. And so as we get more and more data in OwnTrail, what we're able to do is really provide data about what women experience in their lives, and that intersected with the different identities they hold, and hopefully that can really help create some systemic change. If everyone who's making decisions and policies and supporting women through their lives, and everyone in all these different sectors, and imagine what good could be done if we better understood what women are really experiencing in their lives across the full spectrum of personal and professional. And so we're really excited to to put that out there and be the leader in everything about women's lives.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. That is wonderful. What kind of stories have you heard through Owen Trail? Do you have any kind of cool anecdotes or results of people who have made connections or otherwise found it to be helpful with their lives or careers?
Yeah, yes. I mean, the stories are totally what fuels us, because it's so amazing to hear. Like, we've had a lot of different women reaching out, both about the experience of creating their trail and how, really the act of reflecting on and owning our story and our narrative is so powerful in and of itself. Hearing from a lot of women about just the power of seeing women's trails that they can really identify with, and the real kind of authenticity and vulnerability that we're seeing there. There's stuff being shared about just everything in life, from workplace issues and accomplishments to, relationship issues and mental health and childbearing and infertility and travel and mourning, and just, all of the richness of life is really encompassed into these trails, and it's incredible. And it really does provide that sense of solidarity and inspiration. And we just launched a feature a couple of weeks ago now called Conversations, that lets women now, ask and answer questions on trails and dig deeper into, because what we'd heard is that some women were starting to reach out to each other on other platforms to I want to hear more about your trail. Tell me more about this. And so we're really kind of, we pulled that part of our roadmap in pretty quickly, because we're like, oh, these conversations need to be had. Women want to be connecting with each other about this. And so we have that, and it's really cool to see now how people are connecting about the shared experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was wondering if people kind of made those connections beyond the trail. And I'm sure that sounds like it's one of the wider goals. And with the adding of the messaging and the conversations feature, it definitely makes it easier to reach out to anyone on the platform and just ask questions or connect or, ask anything that you might want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, it's a content-based network as opposed to a profile-based network. So it's not about racking up the most friends or followers or likes, right? It's not that kind of winner takes all model, because we think that's the reason that so many platforms don't have the authentic journey, is because that kind of profile-based network doesn't really foster that. So when it's about content, the most powerful thing there is authenticity. It's about those shared experiences and about what we've been through and the commonalities that come from that. And so it's not just about connecting as oh, we're part of a network now, but it's really about how our stories connect and intersect, and the network that comes from those stories.
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting way to think about it, because you're right. All the other social networks are about how many followers do I have or how many likes, but this is, you can appreciate someone's platform. There's a button for essentially a like. I think it's called appreciate.
Yeah, appreciation, but it's private though. So it's not other people can see oh, they've gotten more appreciations than I have, right? But it's more just this private nod of solidarity, of appreciation between two women. That doesn't have to be a big, who's racking up the most,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more, it's kind of a more one-on-one type of conversation or connection through that, because you're really, focusing on the person and the content of their journey.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that with Owen Trail, it entered beta in February. Obviously, you were running before that. And, we're recording this in August. And obviously, 2020, it has been quite an unusual and difficult year, especially for, I would imagine, someone who's starting out with a startup and trying to grow a brand new business. What's it been like for you and for Owen Trail? Have you noticed any sort of change in the way people use it? Or I'm just kind of curious what it's been like in this very unusual time.
Yeah, I mean, we first launched in February, so that was the beginning. So we didn't have a lot of before to compare it to, but it hasn't actually. I think the way that we have Own Trail structured is really conducive to what we're going through right now, which in that it's fully virtual. We're about helping women make it through hard things, and we happen to be pre-revenue right now, so we didn't have the financial hit. But so it actually it's not. I mean, it's hard to know what the trajectory would have looked like without a pandemic, but it's not been so bad. And I will say that it's been so satisfying and fulfilling to work on this right now, at a time when, we all want to just feel like we're able to do something with the uncertainty and the chaos and the issues that we're seeing in the world. And so I've really been enjoying working on this. I don't know if you've seen them come and going, but I have my co-founder and VP of engineering. The three of us are all in my garage here as a little pod together. And so we're able to be working together. And it's been a really cool experience. I have 2 young children, and just dealing with all of that has been nuts. So I'm not saying it's an easy time, but but OwnTrail has probably been the most fulfilling part of it.
Right. That's really cool. Wow. So, since OwnTrail is largely focused on mentorship and mentorship for women, and, you've had your own amazing career with career growth, and you've really had an opportunity to build. Do you have any mentors who kind of stand out in your mind as being like incredibly influential or helpful to you to kind of help you along, and kind of any stories or story or two you'd like to share about someone who's kind of helped you grow in your career?
Well, so not to sound ungrateful, because there's been so many people that have helped me through my life and my career, and that, I actually feel completely lifted up by community. But it hasn't been like, I haven't had like that single mentor that's been like, oh, this is my mentor. This is the person that has all the answers for me. It's, and that's really like why we're building OwnTrail in the way that we're building it. I think, we all agree with that. And the more women that I talk to, the more that's more common. Some people have definitely had great mentors and certainly great sponsors. I've had that as well. But even under the best, circumstances for one-on-one mentorship, you can't get everything you need from a single person. And so our philosophy is really that, it's the culmination of all of the different experiences and advice and journeys. And also, I think that there's this kind of misconception that mentorship is this one directional relationship where there's like the mentor and the mentee, and the mentor gives the mentee advice or whatever, and I think both in my life, the way that things have played out, and in, the way that we're building OwnTrail, there hasn't been necessarily a separate mentor and mentee and, these kind of neatly categorized roles. It's more like we all have a story to tell, and we all have more to figure out. And we are both the mentor and the mentee. And I think in a really great relationship, that's how it plays out, is you're there for each other, you learn from each other, you support each other, you both have different experiences that you can share. And that's really how we're trying to build OwnTrail, so that everyone is both of those roles together.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. I think sometimes there's this perception that you really need this one person who you stay with as your mentor for years, and you kind of follow them around, or they have, you have significant amounts of time that you spend with them. But really a mentor can be someone that maybe someone you meet with for, 20 minutes, or just for like 1 or 2 months, or someone who gives you advice, or who online and maybe never meet in person. It's really just so varied. And it sounds like OwnTrail is really helping to open up more opportunities for those types of relationships so people can learn from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So what are your big goals for OwnTrail? Like kind of once you get out of beta and like fully launched, like where do you see it evolving, and what do you still want to build into it and achieve with it?
Yeah, so we're building out next. We're working on aspirations. So, women right now are able to share where they've been in life, and we want people to be able to share where they want to be going, just as a way of really kind of, kind of putting it out there into the universe, but also that will help us as, kind of a machine learning platform to better provide the tools and framework and structure to help people get where they want to go and connect with people that can help them get there. We're working on building kind of a way for both people who want additional guidance as they navigate OwnTrail, and the people who want to be able to help with that, to connect with each other in this kind of peer-to-peer model. And so we're working on that right now as our business model. And but ultimately, like the big vision is that OwnTrail is the place where all women can go to both connect with each other, find the confidence that they need to deal with anything they're dealing with, and aspire to anything they want to aspire to, have the tools to do so, and that we're able to really blow open how the world views and supports women in a way that, you know, creates more intersectional gender equity across the board. So big goals, big aspirations for us. I'm putting it out there into the world because it's, you know, it's something that's, this is what we're working towards. And we just have so many ideas and visions for getting there, but it's also a very consumer driven kind of a strategy. We really want to know how people are using the platform, what they need, and really let that drive where we're going as well.
Yeah, well, that's really fantastic. Wow. So, you know, Own Trail, you said is up and running, and really anyone who, you know, it's open to anyone who's, you know, is a woman or identifies as a woman. You know, how can people either get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your work with this, or how can they kind of try out Own Trail on their own?
Yeah, so everyone who identifies as a woman should definitely create their trail on owntrail.com, just OWNTRAIL. Everybody out there should reach out to the women in their lives that are inspiring to them and ask them to share their trails on Own Trail, because it really is, we're growing organically based on, you know, women empowering women, women inspiring women. And so everyone has someone that inspires them. And so getting more of those trails up on the platform. Own Trail and myself are both on all of the different social platforms. So, you know, people can definitely follow along and reach out on their favorite platform there. And yeah, I read every single trail that comes through. So I'm just so excited to get to know more about the journeys of your listeners.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And I'll put links to owntrail.com and the social media links in the show notes of the podcast so people can find it there too.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, you know, Rebekah, thank you so much for being on my show. You know, as we close out, is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know, or anything that they can help or support you with?
I mean, I think sharing Own Trail with friends and sharing your trails is the biggest thing. I think our crowdfunding campaign might be closed out by the time that this comes live, but that is quite all right. But yeah, just helping spread the word, and remembering that there's no one right path. You know, I would just hope to leave your listeners with the confidence of knowing that we're all on these wild, winding journeys, and you're just staying open to possibilities can lead to some really cool things. So enjoy that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.